Entering a 400-foot ice chute at 40 miles per hour is a violent lesson in kinetic energy and gravitational pull. This level of physical rigor is a hallmark of the specialized athletic communities scattered throughout the United States. These congregations offer a concentrated competitive thrill for those looking beyond mainstream sports. But success in these niches isn't accidental. Committing to a national championship requires months of specific mechanical preparation, and choosing a discipline that doesn't align with your team's profile will lead to failure. You cannot select a sport based on its aesthetic appeal or the prestige of the title. Those factors provide zero utility when you are actually on the field. Efficient competition requires a ruthless audit of your team's physical mechanics, budget, and logistical constraints before you ever set foot on a pitch or a chute. To find the right fit, we need to examine 3 distinct physical battlegrounds currently operating across the country. First is Camden, Maine. This freezing coastal town hosts the U.S. National Toboggan Championships every February. Then there is Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which serves as the self-appointed North American capital for competitive CUB. Finally, Franklin, Pennsylvania provides the primary qualifying ground for the highly stratified world of competitive stone skipping. We will evaluate these disciplines as distinct problems in material engineering, spatial logic, and fluid dynamics to determine where your cohort belongs. The U.S. National Toboggan Championships center on a strictly regulated high-stakes gravitational descent down a massive, icy wooden chute. The environmental parameters are extreme, a 400-foot ice-coated track that abruptly ejects participants onto the frozen surface of Hosmer Pond. Teams frequently achieve terminal velocities of 40 miles per hour. At that speed, the kinetic transfer upon reaching the pond is immense. Competitive entry requires the acquisition and aerodynamic optimization of a regulation wooden toboggan. Practice is a matter of material science, studying the friction coefficients of various wax applications and drilling the team on mass distribution to minimize drag. This path has significant logistical hurdles. Gear costs are extremely high, and practicing requires access to specific icy gradients. In this discipline, the human role is strictly relegated to pre-event engineering. Once the descent begins, physics takes total control. If you strongly prefer a discipline built on collaborative strategy, CUB shifts the challenge toward team synchronization and spatial reasoning. The objective is the systematic removal of the opponent's wooden blocks, culminating in the assassination of the central king block. Mastery here requires correctly calculating parabolic arcs and expertly managing the rotational inertia of cylindrical wooden batons thrown underhand. This diagram shows the defensive layouts of Viking chess. Success relies on geometric heuristics to block opponents' sightlines. Every throw is a risk. A single miss creates a rupture in the board's ontology, forcing a recalibration of spatial strategy. The logistical barrier is surprisingly low. CUB requires absolutely no dedicated facilities. Any municipal green space serves as a training ground. CUB trades financial gear costs for the friction of team organization. You aren't fighting gravity, you're fighting to align the spatial reasoning of your entire cohort. Competitive stone skipping represents a solitary pursuit of biomechanical perfection with virtually zero overhead. The elite threshold is 88 consecutive skips. Achieving this requires a flawless synthesis of angular momentum and gyroscopic stability. The primary human input is a high-velocity lateral wrist flick, delivered from a stance that maintains a specific incident angle against the water. This animation demonstrates the Magnus effect on the skipping stone. You are using rotation to counteract hydrodynamic friction as the stone hits the fluid surface. Success depends on the physical RNG of your environment. You must source stones with a very specific mass, edge smoothness, and flat surface area. Even with perfect mechanics, you remain vulnerable to environmental variables like wind and water turbulence that can end a run instantly. This discipline offers total financial freedom, but it demands the punishing, isolated repetition of a single joint structure until your throw is perfectly consistent. The final decision depends on identifying your cohort's primary resource constraint. This decision tree outlines the 3 main paths: budget for high-end gear, capacity for complex team logistics, or tolerance for solo mechanical drills. If you have disposable income and an interest in material science, you are gear-heavy engineers. Your competitive path leads to Maine. Attempting to compete in a sport that conflicts with your fundamental resource profile will only lead to a frustrating and expensive failure. For those who need low-cost entry but crave deep, collaborative strategy, you are tactical generalists. Target the tournaments in Wisconsin. If you want zero financial barriers but possess infinite patience for repetitive joint mechanics, you are biomechanical purists. Head to Pennsylvania. Strip away the romanticism. Competitive glory in these obscure arenas is built entirely on tedious, specific preparation. Every result is determined by how well you manage a specific physics engine within a single fraction of a second. Audit your inputs, select your discipline, and commit to the grind.